I'm not crazy, I swear. Everything I'm about to tell you happened. It started about 3 months ago, after I finally broke up with my ex, Caleb. He wasn't violent, but he was a controlling, possessive guy. After 2 years, I needed to get out. I changed my number, deleted all my social media, and moved apartments. I thought I was free. Then came the barista. It was a Tuesday morning at a new coffee shop, and the barista smiled at me and said, "Good morning, sunshine." My heart stopped. That was Caleb's nickname for me. He only used it sarcastically when I was upset. I brushed it off as a coincidence, but then it happened again a few days later. A rideshare driver looked at me through the rearview mirror and asked, "Ever figure out what you're running from?" Word for word, another one of Caleb's phrases. It kept happening. A woman at the grocery store whispered, "You don't get to just disappear." A guy in my building asked, "You always like this song?" While humming a tune Caleb used to play during our arguments. It wasn't their faces that scared me, but their eyes. They all had the same blank, knowing expression, like they were reading from a script. I was losing my mind, so I did something I regret. I reached out to Caleb's sister. I told her to tell him to stop, thinking he hired a private investigator. She told me he was in rehab with no phone. I didn't believe her until I saw a picture of him on Facebook looking pale and holding a one-day sober chip. So it wasn't him directly. One night, I worked late because my apartment felt unsafe. When I finally walked home, I saw a young man sitting on the stoop across the street. He had his hoodie up and his head down. As I walked by, he mumbled, "Cold out tonight, huh, sunshine?" I froze, but I kept walking. The next morning, I found my doormat flipped over. Underneath, a message was scribbled in pen. "You can change your face too if you want, but I'll still recognize you." I freaked out and checked into a hotel for the weekend. Around 2 a.m, there were 3 slow knocks on my door. I peeked through the peephole and saw a woman with a completely blank expression just staring at the door. The hotel clerk later told me all the rooms on my floor were vacant. That's when I realized these weren't random people. They were being fed information and phrases. I remember Caleb mentioning some online forum where people shared tactics. It sounded like some sick role-playing game, but no, it was my reality. I believe he paid a service to do this, to have strangers repeat his words, so that I'm never truly free of him. It's not about watching me. It's about making me constantly watch for him. I don't think it'll ever stop. My girlfriend and I moved into our dream home a few months ago. It was perfect, a quiet street, a big backyard for our cat, Bella, and enough space for us to finally settle down. The only strange thing was the house next door. It looked abandoned, with an unfinished renovation and an open gate to the backyard where a fence should have been. Behind that house was another property where a few young men lived. We'd occasionally see them taking a shortcut through our neighbor's yard, and we didn't think anything of it. But then, one night, we were in our backyard enjoying the stars when we saw a man staring at us from a window in the house behind. He just stared, no expression, for about half an hour until we got too creeped out and went inside. We assumed he was just curious about his new neighbors. The next few nights were normal, but then they started. One evening, 3 men came through the broken fence and into our yard. They just stood there, staring. One of them, a young guy, offered us some stolen washing up tablets from a bag he was holding. We declined, and after an awkward joke, they left. It was weird. It felt like they had every right to be there. This became a pattern. They'd just appear, sometimes staring, sometimes making uncomfortable jokes. We're both 20, and the whole situation felt very intimidating. We called the police, and they told us the men had been kicked out for antisocial behavior. We were relieved. Then the banging started. It began one night while I was in the bath, a loud crash from outside. I found my girlfriend recording a man we'd never seen before pointing at our window before he sprinted toward our house, tried the door handle, then ran back and started banging on the windows of the abandoned house next door. The police came, watched the video, but couldn't do much. A few nights later, we heard whistling at 2 a.m., followed by tapping on our window. Our cameras mysteriously stopped working, and the next day, our Ring doorbell was removed and the SD card was gone. For weeks, we lived in fear. Then, late one night, we checked our live camera feed and saw a man with a black mask standing on our lawn, arms spread wide like a cross, staring up at our bedroom window. He spoke, but we couldn't hear what he said. He then walked to the opposite side of the street and stared for 30 minutes. We called the police again, but they dismissed it, saying it wasn't illegal to stare at a property. We were terrified. Just a few nights ago, we saw 2 men on our cameras, shining flashlights into our windows. One was holding what looked like a crowbar. The harassment continues. We record everything, but we feel powerless. My family are a bunch of home buddies, so when my aunt suggested a trip to one of Michigan's Great Lakes, we were all on board. My cousin booked a huge Airbnb for all 18 of us, and it even came with a 2-story garage that had bedrooms upstairs. I was with my 3 cousins, and we got stuck in the garage. The space was a bit gross-stained bed linens, a moldy smell, and a door latch that was falling off. We had to wash all the sheets, and since the laundry machines were small, we were up late. Around midnight, a loud bang hit the garage door. It sounded like someone had thrown their body against it. I sat up, startled, but my cousin slept right through it. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind, but the noise was too heavy. 20 minutes later, it happened again, shaking the entire building. My cousins finally woke up, terrified. We texted my aunt, who woke my uncle. He ran outside to check, and when we heard a knock, it was him, my dad, and my other male cousins. That's when I knew it was serious. My uncle told us to grab our stuff and come to the main house. We found out that when he went to investigate, he saw a man standing behind the garage. Not hiding, but just standing there. My uncle shouted, "Hey," but the man didn't flinch. He just turned and walked away, not into the darkness, but as if into thin air. There were no footsteps, no rustling leaves. My uncle is not a person who makes things up, and that made it even scarier. My brothers then told us they'd found 2 jester cards. One in the main house, and one twisted, demonic-looking one in the garage. A cousin pointed out that gestures symbolize mockery, and the loud bangs happened around 3 a.m. The next night, we were all crammed into the main house. My mom was sleeping on a couch near the windows and woke up to footsteps on the porch. Then she heard someone trying the basement door where my brothers were sleeping. She ran down there, but by the time she got there, no one was there and the boys were fast asleep. We were supposed to stay until Tuesday, but we all left Monday instead. We contacted the Airbnb host, but she never got back to us. We wondered if she was in on it, or if it was the neighbor we'd seen earlier who had given us a cold, unfriendly stare. A normal person would have run when my uncle spotted them, but this man didn't. He just disappeared. It felt like we were being taunted, and it was the most unsettling thing I've ever experienced. We still don't know who or what it was.